Your girl, Keke Palmer, is out here doing all the things. Winning an Emmy, acting, singing, looking fabulous, and my favorite role yet, podcast host. In her podcast, Baby, This is Keke Palmer, she talks to icons about some of the most interesting topics. Some of my favorite conversations have been about growing up as a child star with Allie and AJ, gay and trans issues with JVN, abusive relationships with Dr. Drew, silk presses with the VP, and the music that shapes us with Mean Girls' Renee Rapp. So many to choose from. And in this new season, just wait, who she'll be talking to next? Snoop Dogg, Sterling K. Brown, and Saweetie, to name a few. Follow Baby, This is Keke Palmer on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcast. Watch full episodes on YouTube, and you can listen to Baby, This is Keke Palmer early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus. Welcome to the Think Loud Crew podcast. My name is R. Today we have a guest with us, Miss Danielle. I'm going to give a quick little rundown. Please forgive me, I'm using my phone so I don't do this wrong.
Fine.
So Danielle is a former high school teacher, former academic department chair, certified women's coach, why is you here, a national keynote speaker, and a friendship expert, y'all. We've been looking for this. She's been featured on NBC News, Psychology Today, Shape Magazine, Wall Street Journal, the Tampa Tribune, and some of Apple's most popular podcasts. Also, you may recognize her because she is is the resident friendship expert on Bumble Friends, which to me, I always thought was just strictly for dating. But then I remember when I was going through my friendship phase and talking about it on the podcast, people were like, why don't you go on Bumble Friends?
Is Bumble like Peanut?
I might.
Is Peanut another?
Isn't Peanut like
Peanut's
a friendship?
like for
a mom
moms.
Yeah,
meetup
Peanut's
thing?
specifically for moms, and then Bumble for friends is just like for friendship, swiping for friends.
Swiping for friends?
Yes. And I mean, I'm not just saying this because I'm the spokesperson. I hear success stories all the time. So it's becoming increasingly popular.
Download the app.
Need any case studies?
Download the app.
Is there a new pilot program? I will
so
serve as a guinea
awesome.
pig because y'all know I need.
I don't
all
know
the
why I
assistance.
thought Bumble was for dating.
I did too until I read that. I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. So it's like, is it a separate type of Bumble or
Yeah,
is
so
it...
Bumble originally started for dating, but they saw more and more people coming on, and in their bio they were putting, hey, I'm just here for friends. And that got so popular, they were like, you know what, let's make a friends, side of it.
Right.
And then that got so popular, they recently just made it its own app. So you would download Bumble for friends. And I always say, like, if you're a woman with, like, an unconventional schedule, like nurses who are like, I can't go out at normal hours, or if you're new to a city and you don't know where to start, you have a lot of women in that space who are finding success.
Wow.
Is there a category for like moms?
Oh, yeah. So you could put like, I'm looking for, and then you would say, mom friends, workout buddies. That way it kind of like expedites the process of finding your people.
Can you put what age range you want?
Sure. Location, what kind, so it's, you can kind of adapt it. They have prompts that you can fill out so people can get a sense of like your humor and your interests. And you would kind of get a vibe of, okay, we're connecting, and then, take it from there.
That's crazy.
I think I'm gonna.
That's really
try
cool.
this just
You should
out of
do
curiosity.
it. Yeah.
And then I'll share, and then I'm gonna message you and be like, "Hey, girl, I would just like to thank you for your friendship.
It works. I got a good friend out of this.
yeah.
Where do I send the testimony? Because
Yeah, I would love that for you.
oh yeah,
Yes.
It's been a struggle for me for a long time.
Why do you think that is?
I always kind of go back to my formative years and like the way that I was taught how to make friends, or like not taught how to make friends, or just, trauma within friendships, or getting hurt and not necessarily having like my people who are like, no, girl, get back out there. So
Yeah.
just ups and downs, unconventional lifestyle or schedule, and then mom life coming on top of that. But I'm getting better. Cheyenne's been great with friendships, in my opinion, compared to me.
She's like, wait.
Cheyenne, like,
First off, don't put me on the spot next to the friendship expert. Now she'd be like, Tell me about your friendships.
Yeah, no. Tell me how they're going.
Like, in terms of...
I have really good friends.
Yeah, she does.
And I think I have really healthy friendships.
What do you attribute that to? Like, why do you think they're strong and healthy?
Oof. Why do I think that? Well, I feel like within my friendships, they're not surface level based. So we've had to tackle real topics, real conversations, real trial and error, real arguments. And how do you overcome those? It's not like the nights where I'm like, like we're all just like giddy and stuff. It's like the nights where we're genuinely like sobbing and telling our deepest, darkest fears. And then the next day we're like, hey, what's up? Want to go get a coffee? Like, it's not a big deal. You know what I mean? And I think it's when you do hit those, bricks in those walls in your friendship where maybe I'm going this way, maybe you're going this way, but do we want our friendship to work? And are we meeting back in the middle? Am I supporting your journey over there and you're supporting my journey over here? Even though I might not agree with it, but I'll meet you at the end of the road when you're done doing whatever you're doing in that season. I feel like a lot of my friendship, we've gone through that. I was kind of like the guinea pig for my friends. I had the baby, the youngest. For some reason, I was the one that ended up on TV. I didn't know how I got there. Like, it was just like everything was coming at me, and I was like the guinea pig. And for my friendships, I have a distinct 4-pack, and they went through every season that I went through with no judgment, showed up for everything, and would sometimes be like, I don't agree with what you're doing, but I'm going to stand right here next to you. And I love my
When
friends.
do I book my flight?
Right. When do I show up?
Yeah, but I think that I have really healthy
That
friendships.
consistency and longevity has been there for her.
Yeah, my friends have been 10 plus years, or
Yeah.
they're not. This is my problem. How do you get new friends? My friends are all old. And then how do you meet? Here, got it. I'm so good. Okay.
I'm so good.
I've been trying to work it out in my head. I have old friends, right? Really deep-rooted relationships. Very territorial.
I was going to say territorial.
Very territorial. I now have new friends because I had the baby the youngest, which means my kid is the oldest. So we're going on, she's 7. So now I have mom friends from school or mom's friends from cheer. And my new friends are like, who are these people? How do I sit them at the same table?
Peacefully.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, I think it's really great that you've had people who have seen you evolve because it's something that a lot of women are hungry for. They want the friendship with the person who's seen all these versions of you, and it plays to something known as social identity support. So when you have somebody who affirms the various aspects of your identity, that friendship tends to do really well. So if you're a mom and you have people who affirm that in you, if you're, have a certain faith and people affirm that in you, and things break down when they start to dissolve. So for example, you said, when I do this or make this decision, they're like, okay, I'm with you. I'm with this version of you. I'm with you. And not everyone can do that. So that's really beautiful. But it can become tricky if you have friends over time who've created something solid and then they introduce new friends. And the reason it's probably a sticking point is because the research tells us that for women specifically in our friendships, we really value mutual prioritization. So if I feel like you're my number one girl, I like knowing that you see me as your number one girl too. So we might not say that, but it's kind of like an expectation. We rank each other the same. It's important to women. So I could totally see how if they feel like we're super close and now you're inviting somebody else in, okay, what does that mean for me? How does that going to impact where I am here? Yeah. And then you have, self-disclosure is like the glue of women's friendships, right? I tell you something, you tell me something. So if I look over and I see that you're doing that with somebody else, now it's like, okay, where does that put me? How does that threaten what we have? And I know a lot of people would often dismiss that as like, well, that's so petty, you shouldn't care. And I get that. But the reality is, because we're so close in our friendships, it is natural to feel a little tense or threatened by her getting close to somebody else because we value that exclusivity. We value that prioritization. So I feel like in a case like this, where you're introducing new friends, the existing friends probably really want to know, I'm still special, I'm still here, I'm not being replaced, who is this girl? So whatever we can do to kind of show them, no one's replacing you, we have our thing, this is untouchable. But I do say be open to new friends because the research also shows that people who have relational diversity are happier. So people who have mom friend, church friend, happy hour friend, business friend tend to report greater life satisfaction than the person who just has high school friend.
But if you put mom friend, church friend, work friend, happy hour friend, is there a world where all those friends can be in the same room together?
I mean, some people pull that off successfully. I mostly see that for like those big milestone things like birthdays or weddings when you're like bringing all your folks together. So that could totally happen. It just depends on, I always say, your objective for the event. So what's the objective for why y'all are getting together? And what work would you need to do as the host or like the hub of that group to make sure people are clicking, vibing, because they might not.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I used to
have
friends,
tricky.
Personalities, values.
Separate birthday parties. And it would be like, for me, it was confusing because I'd be invited to both. And I'd be like, how do I deal with this? Because other people would be like, oh, did you go to the other party? And it'd be like, huh? Like, it was a confusing spot or confusing position. You mentioned a phrase, a social identity support. Yeah. I think that is what I am. Like, if there's a category of friend, I'm going through this because I've never heard that before. I'm having a personal moment right now where I'm like, I've just never heard that phrase. And I think,
you think you're that for somebody that you're friends with?
I think I want more people that share my social identity so I can have my social identity support. Like, I have friends from different aspects of life that I've, like, made, but they, in terms of, like, interest or work or what my priorities are, like, what my goals are in life, there's not many crossovers.
Right.
So that's been a struggle. Yeah. So it's like the things I do want to talk about within my friendship, I'm like, where do I go? So for someone who is seeking deep relationships within their friendships, like, how do you start?
I'm not past the merging of the friends yet.
Okay, sorry.
You're merging of.
You're still like, how do I get my friends together?
Like, on that staircase. So, just before we go to the next topic, is it better to keep them separate?
I'm on social pretty heavily, and people are always like, oh, no, I'm not mixing friend groups. And most times it's like, because I fear that they'll get along really well. And so I mostly hear it from that aspect. I'm scared to do it because what if they really click and then they're going to lunch? And I just always go to, you know your people. If they tend to all be good conversationalists, they're reasonable people, they all kind of respect boundaries, then you probably have a safer space to merge them together. But if you know that, hey, these friends value these things and these friends don't, I don't think they're going to click. I would just ask what would be the purpose. So if it's a celebratory occasion, so I want my people there, that's one thing. Yeah. But if it's just like, hey, it'll be really fun for me and convenient for me to put them all in a room together, I mean, go for it. Yeah. But also be aware of like, what's the point? What's the dynamic here?
No, okay, this is my problem. All right. Real life. One of my best friend's birthdays is this weekend. And she's like, originally it was, I'm going to have like a really relaxed, just like wine and cheese at my friend's house. And I was like, who's your friend? Because I'm the friend with the house. So
I'm your friend.
I'm the house friend.
I'm the house friend.
Yeah.
I host your birthday party.
I was thinking like,
it's my birthday party.
I was a little thrown off. And that's just me being honest. And then she's like, oh, it's my friend from Bible study. And I was like, okay, well, all right, it's your Bible study friend, fine. So then I took her to dinner for her birthday, the day before her birthday. And then it came out like, oh, I can't host it at my Bible friend's house anymore. I'm thinking about doing it at my house, at her house. But then she's baby to go sleep. So I was like, oh. So then she's like, hey, I can do it at your house. And now I'm thinking, I was the secondary choice. And does this mean your Bible study friends are coming to my house with your regular friends that are your non-Bible study friends? And she has like two different sets,
different energy there.
Bible study friends. So it's like three groups merging into one. And
I have questions.
That's why I'm like, what do I do? Where do I stand?
How
Where do
do
I put my
you-
hands? Do I greet everybody at the door, or do I like relax and just act like, yeah, it's my house, but not
But
a big
I'm just
deal.
hosting
I'm just
it.
a
Do I
friend.
still be a guest?
But how do you
Yeah.
feel accepting? How do you feel with
This is funny.
your new friend? That
I don't know those people.
So how? Yeah, that's weird to have.
Do I cuss? Do I not cuss? Do I run your Bible study friends? Like, do we pray before we eat the cheese? Like, do I get a lot
Do
of
you have
wine?
to
a
act
little bit of
differently?
wine? Yes.
Oh, that's
I have a
interesting.
very open
Cheyenne's nervous right now.
household. My
She's
household is
legit
open.
She is. I
We're,
see
you
it.
know, we're very open. And I'm like, the Bible study friends are coming over.
So I feel like the perfect thing to do would be to communicate everything you just said to your friend. Hey, you know I'm down to play host, but I'm kind of concerned because I want you to feel comfortable. I want you to have a good time. What would that mean for you? Like, what does that mean for me to help you have a good time and to allow her to direct you because she knows the other group.
Yeah.
So she would know if she's like, actually, yeah, can we, tone it
it
down?
down.
Or if she's like, no, be yourself. They're totally cool with that.
Yeah.
So she is the person who would know. So to ask her, I want you to have a good time. That's so important to me. But what does that look like on my end? To allow her to direct you. Yeah. And I know sometimes people are like, they'll say like, well, I don't want to be fake and I want to be me. And that's true, be you. But also if I want my friend to have a certain experience and I
Right.
feel like it's not going to compromise like who I am, I can say, okay, I can tone it down for tonight because it's her night. Or she gave me permission to do my thing. Okay, great.
Yeah.
So allow her to direct you because it's her, her
I'm like,
thing.
am I putting on Drake or am I putting on Hillsong?
Maybe a little
What
mix.
vibe are we? What are we doing here? Like,
how did it?
like, what vibe are we?
What are we doing for the birthday?
The
Are we
Bible study
eating?
friends outweigh
Is there an actual Bible study going
the
on?
real friend
Is there
category. Like, there's like 12 of them and like 2 of us. So I'm like, how does
Yeah.
this work?
I have
Do I
a
need to
question.
put
What
a
do you
Bible
guys-
on
are
the
you guys
table? Like,
playing
what do we
games?
do?
What are y'all
Like,
doing?
do we play heads up? But when I play heads up, I play adult supervision. Like, do we
I'm-
not play that version with y'all?
Cheyenne.
You don't understand. My head is. It's like going
I've never seen your
it's
head
going
go
like
that.
this.
Yeah. I have a question for you, Shy. You said when she approached you, how did it make you feel to be the second choice?
Honestly,
How did it make you feel? Did you voice that to her as
it
a
wasn't
friend, or
like
was
a-
that just?
it wasn't like a jealousy thing. It wasn't like that, but it was just like, heh. Like, but then I'm like, dang, am I petty because I'm saying heh because it didn't work out at your
Right.
first location? So it wasn't like that, but it was more so of just like, okay, like
Yeah.
I want
You
her
wanted that.
to be comfortable and open to bring her Bible study friends around, her friends that we've seen her in every season. So I saw you before.
Yes.
Bible study.
I know you outside of Bible study.
I know
girl.
you outside of Bible study. So I think it was more so of like that, of like, I've been waiting for you to put us all in one room. Your birthday's a perfect time to do that. I just didn't. At first, I expected that one room to be at my house, and now that it's at my house, I'm like, oh, fuck, it's never mind. I'm like, no, let's go to her house.
You've met.
Let's go with the baby. Let's go to the lady's house.
You've met some of these people though, like
On their like. I
in
met
their
at her
turf,
baby
a
shower.
baby shower,
Yeah,
like
where I was hosting, but at someone else's house, so I was busy. I
was
wasn't
about to say,
thinking
you
about
socializing.
them.
You've
Yeah, I
meshed with
didn't
them.
socialize with them.
I
But-
think it'll be nice for you because then maybe you'll be able to experience like what some of your friends go through you, where it's like,
Oh, I throw everybody in the room.
yeah, Cheyenne throws
You
everyone
do.
in the room, and it's like, let's watch. But now that she's going from like maybe the guest versus
Yeah.
the host, it is a different.
It's different. But now I'm thinking, like, dang, do my friends have the same anxiety when I put
Yes.
them all in the
Yes.
room with everyone?
They do, and sometimes they're like, "Oh, who are these people?" And I'm given rundowns, and I'm like, "No, they're actually very nice." Like, I feel like I do a lot of behind the scenes campaigning.
Really? For Shy?
Not even for Shy, but just in general when people are coming into
Like,
new
who's who?
environments, then they're like, "How do I act?
Yeah.
You know, am I free willy? Am I free to be myself, or is this? Am I on my best behavior tonight? You know, like you said, am I cussing? Am I not cussing? Is it Hillside or Drake? You
Yeah.
know, so it's just about presentation and I think making other people comfortable, which I believe you're great at. So I think at the end of the day, you guys will be fine.
Your girl, Keke Palmer, is out here doing all the things. Winning an Emmy, acting, singing, looking fabulous, and my favorite role yet, podcast host. In her podcast, Baby, This is Keke Palmer, she talks to icons about some of the most interesting topics.
Some of my favorite conversations have been about growing up as a child star with Allie and AJ, gay and trans issues with JVN, abusive relationships with Dr. Drew, silk presses with the VP, and the music that shapes us with Mean Girls' Renee Rapp. So many to choose from. And in this new season, just wait, who she'll be talking to next? Snoop Dogg, Sterling K. Brown, and Saweetie, to name a few. Follow Baby This is Keke Palmer on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcast. Watch full episodes on YouTube, and you can listen to Baby This is Keke Palmer early and ad-free right now by joining Wondery Plus.
I like what you were saying as far as if you have a friendship where you're all doors open for your friend and their family and their friendships, but your friend isn't like that with you. Is that a real friendship?
Yeah, so it's funny because I see questions like that, like online or socials and things like that, and people are like, okay, if your friend doesn't do this, is she fake? If she's fake. And I get that. We're like, it shows me that we're continuously trying to evaluate, is this real? Is this real? And I always lead with, if you find yourself in a position where you're like, okay, so based on what happened, fake or real, fake or real. And I always say, you have to take the entire context and history of your friendship into account before we assign great meaning to this one thing. So to this example, you're saying, what if I really bring this person in? I'm sharing things with her. I'm like, meet my family, and she's not doing the same thing. Is she fake? I always like to entertain, is it possible that it could be other things? If she's not bringing you into her family, is it because her family is not cool like that? It just doesn't feel safe to introduce you to my family. You don't know my family. Or I want to keep you away from knowing that side of me because I am ashamed of it, or because we don't have the same warmth that you have. So I'm probably never going to bring you in on that way. So how can I consider, is it just at least possible that this person's not bringing me in, and it's not because it's a sign of how much they trust or love me, but because the safety they feel to let me access those sides of them. And again, you know, I always say, before we act prematurely, have I even said that to you? So not in an accusatory way, but to tell the friend, like, you know, maybe the next time she even comes over, saying like, you know, I love having you over here. I realized the other day though, like, I've never been on your side. I've never met your people. What's going on? You know, so that way it's a chance for her to reassure. Actually, you know, you don't want to meet my people. I try to keep that separate, you know, or I'm embarrassed of how I grew up, or my people, or whatever, or my other friends are, you know, not inviting, you know, but it's a chance for me to say it directly without it being an accusation. It becomes more of an invitation. I want to know you more. What's going on? And it's a chance for her to tell me why she doesn't, or a chance for her to say, oh, I didn't really think about it. I guess you're right. But otherwise she would not have known that. So that would be how I'd advise that, because we have to acknowledge that it could be for a myriad of reasons, and it might not be because she's not a true friend to you.
So it seems like communication is key.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Like that's
every time.
It's how you communicate.
Every time. And I mean, there's some things that I say all the time, and that's one of them. Like, I know we say like communication's key, but it's just like, I think especially for women, like, my theory is this. I think there's so much we're missing each other in female friendships because for some reason, in every other context of our lives, we anticipate conflict. We know there's probably going to be an issue. We know we're going to have to talk things through, right? Like at your job, there's literally a time for performance reviews. We're talking about our progress and how we're doing. So I know that's going to happen. In a relationship, you know, with your man, is going to be like, babe, what's going on? I feel like we're off. It's normal. For some reason, in friendships with other women, it feels like it's the only space where we subscribe to the idea that I shouldn't have to say it. Like, you're my friend. I shouldn't have to break that down. Like, you're another woman. You should know. But in every other space, we're like, well, I probably have to communicate it so they know my expectations. But for a woman, we're like, oh my God, come on. She should know. I should not have to say that. And it's not true. So when you have a friendship where you subscribe to the idea that you shouldn't have to say your expectations, then whenever she violates them or misses them, then we're like, see, we're not as compatible as I thought. So it's just like...
But that's not true, because we're just in the communication.
Correct.
So in addition to communication, what would you say what is necessary to have a healthy friendship? It seems like you talk about expectations. Like, what are those components or key components?
Yeah, so expectations are huge because the research tells us that women have higher expectations than men in their close relationships. So that means my close friendships or romantic relationships, we expect more than a man might expect in his close relationships. So right there, we're already starting here. So again, the issues come when we don't say them because we expect like, well, you're a woman, you're another woman, so you should know, like I shouldn't have to break this down for you. But that would be an issue. Excuse me. So when it comes to like healthy friendships, one of them would be managing and expressing expectations, and not in terms of demands, because that's not appealing to anybody. If any new friend came to me and was like, so listen, here's what I expect, just that energy, I'm kind of like, okay,
Put
you
you
know,
off.
yeah, and it introduces a power dynamic, and friendships are based on being peers, like we're the same. So if you come in hot with like, hey, I expect that, it's a different dynamic.
That sounds scary.
Right.
So your delivery
It's everything.
Is everything.
It's everything, yeah. But like, so for example, and maybe you kind of express it as things come up. So if we're in the middle of something where I feel like there's a gap, like I want this, but I'm not getting it in that moment. So whether it's, you know, I want her to respond more quickly with texts or whatever it is. And instead of me assuming, man, I guess she just like doesn't even care. That's so rude. That's so rude. Now my energy changes toward her. Now I'm sending one word text to be passive aggressive. Now I'm telling all my friends like, yeah, she just can't even get back to anybody. There's so much that happens instead of me being like, girl, okay, can you just give me something, a thumbs up something, so I know that you got this text? You know, so it's, like I'm going to say it, but I'm going to say it warmly so she can be like, okay, you're right, I'm working on that. Okay, I got you. And it's done. But I think healthy friendships can do that. We can do healthy conflicts, not unhealthy, but when there's tension, we feel safe here to be like, girl, what's going on? That is healthy. And we have to anticipate that the way we would in another context. We have to anticipate. I'm probably going to have tension at some point with my friends, but I'm okay leaning into it. So after we hash it out, we can move on. That would be healthy. When you feel safe to share your opinions and your positions without judgment. And you mentioned that earlier when when you were speaking to your close friendships, you were like, we might not agree, but it's like, whatever. Some people cannot say that. Some people do not feel comfortable to say like, actually, this is how I really feel about especially in motherhood. We have to make like 100 decisions a day. So if your friend finds out that you let them have screen time or that you do like all these other things that we kind of judge because I don't do that in my house, are you safe to share? We do this in my house without fearing that she's like,
Like, oh, girl.
wow.
You let your kid have McDonald's?
Yeah, I mean, really, especially in motherhood.
No, but that's so real because there are other moms what? You did that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or you
So,
don't
like,
do that?
Yeah.
And
So
I'm
I think like the markers of a healthy friendship are we're comfortable with healthy conflict. We're comfortable with the fact that you will make choices that sometimes don't mirror my own.
Yes.
And okay, I can handle that without withdrawing, criticizing, trying to push and persuade you to modify your choices. I mean, all those things communicate you cannot be yourself here. Yourself is not good enough. Let me persuade you of all the reasons why you need to change your approach with that man, with your kids, with your money issues. Let me explain how you need to choose differently. I mean, if somebody was doing that to me, I feel like, okay, so who I am as I am right now is not good enough.
For you,
So those kinds of things show whether or not it's kind of healthy and safe or it's not.
Thank you. So as a friendship coach, when, say, for example, I was horrible with communication, what does a friendship coach do? Do you help me with prompts? Do you help me figure out my answers so I can even begin to have these, conversations with people? Just like, what does that look like?
Yeah, it's so funny because, if I'm at a party or something and people are like, so what do you do? It's always like, yeah, so, because it's always something. People are like, a friendship coach, is that real? So I actually started out as a high school teacher working with 12th graders, and it was like the number one thing they wanted to talk about between class and after school was this girl, da-da-da. And I'm like erasing their seating assignments because she wants to sit next to her. And I'm like, oh my God, are you guys still cool? Okay, then I'm going to put you next to her. So it was a thing for like 6 years. And then I was the academic chair. So then I'm helping teachers handle the friendship issues in their classrooms. And then I left the classroom after about 6-7 years and I got into public relations. So I made the foolish mistake of thinking, well, I'm no longer working with teenagers. So like that drama is over.
It's auto-corrected.
It's just beginning now.
It's a different level.
But what's so interesting is I was working with smart, beautiful, high-achieving women who make decisions, they're firm, they have lots of social connections, they're extroverts, but privately, they have their own issues with female friendship. You're just not putting that out there because it detracts from the image of having it all together. And so that's when I was like, oh, okay, at every stage of womanhood, we're trying to figure out, how do I click with other women? How do I navigate this here? So, I started studying what the research has to say about women's cooperation, communication, and conflict. I say all that to say, as a friendship coach and educator, when I was doing like private sessions, it would mostly be with high achieving women. And I think people will be surprised to know that, because like if you overheard somebody say, oh yeah, I'm working with my friendship coach, most of us would be like, what? Like, how do you need help for that? But I'm not working with I'm actually not often working with the socially awkward wallflower who doesn't know how to put a conversation together. It's 80% women with their own business who are very social, go to parties all the time. But the issue is they are not satisfied in those friendships. They do not feel seen in those friendships. They're having some kind of issue, but like have no idea how to talk it through. And it doesn't feel safe to talk about anywhere else. Because if you talk to your friends about your friendship issue, they might be mutual friends, so that's awkward. If you talk to your man about it, sometimes they're very reductive and dismissive. Well, then stop hanging out with her then.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well,
Really, that's not the
Not the answer.
that's not the
babe.
answer.
I can't work with that. So sometimes people feel like I don't know where to even like express this. And so with coaching, women will bring me whatever kind of issue, and the whole thing is about like, what is the goal? And we work through that. So what are your options? I'm not giving you advice. I'm not telling you what to do. But my job is to ask really important questions so that you get to a place where you're like, oh my gosh, I know exactly what I need to do. And I feel confident to do that. Because for women, we ruminate more than men, which is why we report more experiences with anxiety and depression, because we ruminate over the same things. So coaching with somebody who's like, I'm objective and I can share what the research says and I can give exercises to help you come out of that. Because otherwise you're just like, but should I text her though? Like, was that shady? Like for weeks.
Yeah.
And for women who are like, I'm done mulling it over, but I don't know how to pop out of that cycle, that's kind of what we do.
Okay.
Have you ever been put or asked to mediate like a friendship with the two people in the room that are having a issue? Or is it always just a one-on-one?
That's a great question. So it's mostly one-on-one. I've had people ask me to mediate their friendship issues, but for me, that's more of like a counselor's role when you're like, okay, did everybody hear each other? I did it once, like toward the beginning, mediated two friends, and it's just tricky because as a coach, it's goal-oriented, and so I'm trying to help you reach the goal that you said you want. We're working through that. But I learned, like in the first 10 minutes, those two women had very different goals, and it was very hard to mediate. One wanted to rekindle the friendship, and she was like, I just feel like we don't, talk like we used to, and she's changed so much, and I just don't understand. And the other one, I could just tell by the things she was saying, and the friend wasn't getting it. She was trying to be nice, but it was very clear she did not want to maintain that friendship anymore. So it's very hard because if your goal is to stay in, your goal is to get out, my job is to help you meet the goal. And they were
have two different goals. Like,
so
How do I break this to you?
yeah, it was very sad. It was very sad.
oh, that is
What
sad.
about like friend breakups? Like, when do you know, like, say you're in that space, how do you know when a friendship has expired? Or I hate to say it like that, but it's like, when you meet someone, you're like, oh, this might work. And it's like that surface level. I don't want surface level. I'm ready to dig. Yeah. And it's like, once I see there's no digging, I'm like, peace out. But I don't know if that's just me, how do you tell the difference between just surface level and then like when you're ready to dig? And how to explore that.
Yeah.
Sounds crazy.
So I like to start with this because like to give perspective, but there's something known as Dunbar's number. And the idea is that our brain can only cognitively handle 3 to 5 ultra close relationships. We're talking like ultra close. But then if you think about that like a circle and like circles outside of it, the next circle would be like 10 to 15. And then like, 20 to 50 to kind of show degrees of closeness, right? So less close, but like getting closer, 3 to 5. I start there because it's important to know that I only have so much space for so many people, especially if I want to show up.
Yeah.
I want to be an active friend. I can't do that for 20 people. I just can't. So I say that to say we have to start by being clear. Who are the people I want to be intentional about? Because especially as a mom, I only have so much to give. And I really want to be in it with you. So I have to be strategic about, okay, who are going to be like my top 3 ladies, top 5 ladies, because I can't do that with 10 people. So if you find a woman who you're like, okay, I'm curious about her. She seems cool. And then over time you realize like, oh, okay, I don't think we have the capacity to go there. There's no shame in that because you have to be kind of protective and selective over who your top people are going to be anyway. So if you're noticing with like a surface level friends that you don't want to go deep or that you want to end it all together because you discover some things, most people try to do the fade out first, where it's just like you initiate a little less, you don't share as much, right? Because we talked about self-disclosure is the glue of women's friendships. So whenever we're not close, we self-disclose less, right? We kind of are like telling her less details. We're just like, yeah, it's cool.
A little bit.
Yeah, we're good.
The fade out.
The fade out. Most
fade
people
out.
do.
I'm about to write that
Because I don't want to just like,
fade.
I hate ghosting. Like, I feel like ghosting is such a thing, and it's.
You'd rather fade?
You rather fade
No,
out?
I'd rather say, hey, I met you and I thought we could be cool, but like, it either one ain't clicking, two, my schedule's,
Yeah.
I just have too much going on
Sounds
right
like
now.
a real breakup.
And that's exactly
But I would rather do that than be like, peace out. And then it's like, I see you in person. It's like,
correct.
do I speak to you or do I not speak to you? Like,
and then that, you feel the tension between you and the
I think
person.
I don't want to put that
Yeah,
out there.
I think most friendships that I see dissolve happen through the mutual fade out. For most people, it's not a huge blowout every time it ends. It's just like, oh, it was clicking, and then we kind of like text each other a little less. Whenever it's mutual, I think a fade out's totally okay. Yeah. You realize like, oh, I don't want to invest in this the same way, and you both kind of fade off. That's great. I think when a conversation needs to happen is where there's a gap. One person expects us to stay status quo, and the other person's like ready to leave. I feel like when there's that discrepancy, we have to say something for a multitude of reasons. Because one, I'm either going to be dodging your calls, dodging your texts, being dishonest. When she's like, hey, can you link up? Oh, no, I'm just so busy. I'll be out of town.
Washing my
Like,
hair.
how many times can you go out of town? How many times can you wash your hair? You know, eventually she's going to be like, okay. So I don't want to be dishonest. And then also for her, like, when do I clue her in that, you know, this is not happening? So it doesn't have to be a whole let's go to coffee and talk about it, depending on how close y'all were. But it might be exactly what you just said of like, hey, listen, you know, between work, the kids, and, you know, trying to make time for like other friends. I'm not going to be able to maintain this friendship the way we were in the beginning. Like I'm not going to have the same momentum. Yeah. Is that awkward? Yes. Might this person get mad? Yes. Is the person probably gonna be like, oh, okay, wait. Yes. Also, it frees both of y'all to go and do what you need to do. She deserves to be in the company of people who can reciprocate. So it might be hurtful, but like I'm freeing you to go with people who can match that energy. I can't. And it might feel guilty to you at first, but you deserve to be in friendships that you're not seeing as an obligation. So it's actually an act of generosity for both parties to be able to say, I don't think this is going to work like I thought.
What about friendships? And you always hear like, don't live with your friend and your friendship's going to be ruined. Or don't mix business
With friends.
and friends. So I guess the main question is, do you think it is possible to mix business and friendships?
I do think it's possible just because I've seen it several times with women who are friends and they own a business together and they have fun. I think the difference is those women feel very comfortable in having conversations along the way. I feel like if you guys are not like that, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
So it has to be a space where we're like, okay, girl, I don't want to take this business that direction. What are we going to do?
Right.
They have to be very comfortable. If you're not, that is not going to work. Because even with a business partner, you wouldn't be like, well, I'm not going to say anything. You'd be having meetings. Hey, I'm not liking how this is going. We need to pivot. So are you guys safe to do that? And then also, you know, I see people do little things like where they have days where they're like, okay, this is going to just be a friend's day. Like we haven't enjoyed each other as just friends. Can we go out Saturday and we are not talking about the business? Like, so even announcing, separation. So we know who are we today? What's our role today? Is this a friend thing or not? I think is important too.
I like that you said that.
I'm like
Coming
my
back
list.
to we are friends, let's regroup and like say hi to each other real fast. I like that.
I think mixing business and friends is tricky when, you know, there's things that are happening in the business that maybe you're not happy with, but it's like in our friendship, I'm happy with our friendship. But how do we how we separate those two? Is that more telling to like your business savviness or you being a good friend?
I mean, honestly, we were talking about communication. Whenever there is a moment where it's like, oh my God, this is going south, and I don't know if we're clicking, to lean in there are certain phrases that help keep you connected during disconnection. So even the phrase like, it's really important to me that is something that kind of saves us. So let's say I'm really upset about how this is going and I don't like how she's handling things at work. I'm not going to lean in with like, hey, the way you talk to customers is like not cool. I'm going to say, okay, it is really important to me that we see eye to eye on this. And I know you care about our customers. I do too. But I'm kind of worried because the way we're coming at them, I'm worried that people won't be returning customers. How do we want to do this? So everything is language like, we're on the same team. You're my girl. Let's figure this out. As opposed to like, hey, I'm not down with the way that you talk to people. Like that's not all those things.
It's all about how you word things.
100%.
Your delivery is so good.
I think it's about
so
being
good.
direct with a smile, but the subtext is the same. The subtext of what I'm saying is that has to stop. But instead of me coming at you like your mom, hey, that's not cool. We can't talk to people.
Right.
I mean, anybody
Then
who
that
receives
friend's
that,
gonna
you
feel-
buck up.
yeah.
You're just like, okay. But if it's like, okay, we love our customers. I know we do. And we both have our like vibe with them or whatever. That's why they come back to us. But I'm just a little worried about how we're communicating. Walk me through, like, why do you respond like this? Because I was thinking we try this. Okay, so
like
let's try
that,
this,
yeah.
right? Okay, let's try that. We're in it together. So all my language conveys, we're on the same team.
How many friends do you have?
What is your core
I just want to
group?
know, how many best friends do you have? Do you have friends?
It's so funny.
What if she said none?
What if I was like,
I got
I don't
no
know.
friends.
No,
I have a list of associates.
Yeah. I have, my core friends, like I would say maybe 4 girls who I feel like I could call at 2:00 in the morning and be like, I'm having issues, which as a matter of fact, to digress, they found that one way to measure your longevity, like people who are going to live past 80, is if you have a person you could call at 2 a.m. to tell your troubles to, which sounds very specific. But people who don't have that, their likelihood to live till 80 is lesser than people who have that.
That's interesting.
I'm okay
Is it because like I don't know. That's
Because
interesting. I'm like, do I have somebody?
Does your
I'm just
husband
kidding.
count? You can't.
I mean, I don't know.
No, it's 2 a.m. Talk to me.
Well, but I think it's like it's super specific, but it's because it's an indicator of something else, which is you have social support in your life. And the longest running study on happiness, which was conducted by Harvard, found that the number one thing that determines how like your physical well-being and your life satisfaction is the quality of your relationships. So that is one measure of that. And if you could say like, actually, I don't have anybody I could call, it speaks to other things. You don't have support. You don't have emotional support.
Yeah.
And if you have people in your life, it's not just emotional support, but if I have a lot of people in my life, I probably have access to different resources. So
Right.
I'm actually very extroverted. I love people. So I have my close friends, but they often make jokes about how I'm always like, oh my God, we should bring so-and-so to lunch with us. She's so cool. So I love meeting people.
Yeah.
And I do feel very happy in that way. But I think it's because when you are connected to a lot of different people, it's not just about friendship. It's about community, and that's different. So like as a mom, my best friend doesn't have children. And she's my girl. But it helps in our friendship that I have a motherhood community. That way, it's almost like shorthand language. So if I'm struggling with this aspect of motherhood and this mom is like, I know exactly what you mean. Girl, it is hard. It's not just you. I feel like affirmed and relieved, and my friend can hype me up, but it's going to be different. So I think like you have access to resources. I've had moms who put me on to school stuff, and I'm like, oh, wait a second, hold on. Because her kid's 5 years older. So she's telling me how to navigate the school system. I need that in my life.
Yes.
I need to be put on resources, support. And so I say that to say I have my core girls, but I also have a lot of social connections. And personally for me, I'm happier for it.
Do you think, or have you ever had a situation where one of your closer friends are like, you're coaching me? Like, I know you're not talking to me as a friend, you're talking to me as a friendship coach. Like, does your job title or your profession ever cause problems within your own friendships? Because I would feel like, is it you talking, or is it like, what is it? Like, who am I talking to? You know
What do the researchers say to that?
Is that Harvard coming out? No.
It's interesting. It's actually affected my friendships before in the opposite way. And I say, this is what I mean. I never really coach my friends like, so what are your thoughts on, because it's just like, I'm just showing up as Danielle.
Yeah.
Unless she like brings up something about a guy or something, I'm just like, oh, interesting. So do you feel like that like aligns with your values?
Yeah.
But I've actually had it affect me the other way. A friend who is, unfortunately no longer in my life, one time when we were kind of disagreeing on something, she paused and she looked at me and she was like, okay, friendship coach.
Oh.
And it felt very like the subtext was her saying, you're a hypocrite, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was so hurtful because it's like, I'm a normal person.
Right.
I'm a normal woman with my own stuff. Sometimes I say the wrong thing or I'm oversensitive. I'm like a normal person. So if there's any party that feels like, oh, see, you did something wrong and you're not living up to your, then you don't see me as a person here anyway.
Yeah.
You know, so it was very hurtful, but it just also showed me like you don't
were.
see me as a person and you're eager to point out, oh, that's not consistent with what you preach. I mean, because I'm just a person trying to figure this out like everybody else.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm a human too.
Yes.
Dang, that would have made me buck up. I'd be like, yes, that's why I am the friendship coach. What do you want to say?
Yeah.
Say something.
Line of research. Who is doing this research? Like, how did you get connected
To know.
to even know like, hey, I can do this? Or
How'd you go from PR to
friendship coach?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it's, you know, I leveraged my background in education. So I went to school for education. I was a teacher, so in an academic chair. So in terms of being in that world of like researchers and people in the trenches doing studies, I know how to like access that world. I just was looking for a different topic at the time, you know, because I taught English. So now it's just like, oh, I wonder if there are studies on that. And just looking through, talking to friends, connecting with
research.
professors at different schools. You know, can I talk to you about your research? Help me understand. So I'm in different like associations and things like that. So I'm in the academic world, which is nice. But I just kind of see my role as I want to learn what these researchers on the ground are seeing. What are they finding? And I just am so fascinated by it and reading about it. But I see my role as taking that in my brain and keeping it in there. And when women bring issues, it's fun for me to be able to say like, oh my God, actually that's really common. And here's why, you know, and they
to
kind of
lay
have
onto the
relief like,
facts.
okay, wait, so that's normal. Oh, okay. You know, or if I'm giving them an exercise like, hey, why don't you try this? It's not because Danielle, I did this weekend with my friends. So here's what I rarely talk about myself. Rarely, because I don't want you to think I'm advising you because I got it right. It's nice to be able to say like, actually, the research is saying that if you do this, it's more effective. So why don't you try that? It's not Danielle's opinion. I rarely give like, you know, because there's already a lot of that of which is fine, but there's already a lot of women online and stuff who are like, well, here's what I do with my friends, so here's what you should do. And I think that's great.
No.
But you know, sometimes we're coming from our own complexes. Like if I'm avoidant or anxious and I'm advising you, it's from a place of my own complexes, you know? So I try to stay away from, this is what I do, so here's what you should do.
I like that you're coming from a research standpoint
Yeah.
versus like, this is
is
what
not-
I
yeah.
did.
Yeah.
Which I think is you see a lot of that on social media sometimes.
Yes.
So, in terms of if someone were to be looking for a friendship coach, like what are things that you would suggest them doing besides coming to you? Like I'm just saying, like say if you're, you know, not available, if they're in a different time, like how would you know how to vet someone who is a friendship coach versus just someone just giving their
Advice.
personal advice?
Yes. Well, these days, you know, whether it's a coach, therapist, counselor, a lot of people are making content and putting content out there, which I think is helpful. So does it resonate with you? Are you going to somebody who has really strong positions for how things should be? You know, or are they projecting a lot of their own opinion in it? So things like that, does it align with you? Does their style align with you? But I also think credentials are super important. And, you know, I try to be very responsible. So I'm always quick to differentiate and be like, oh, I'm not a therapist, because I'm quick.
Right.
If we're talking and she's saying something about like how her depression is getting in the way of her friendships, I will listen. But at some point I'm like, okay, now who do you have who you're working through that with? Because that's a completely
your
different mental thing. You know,
Yeah.
so I say that to say like, even first knowing what you need. If there's like severe friendship trauma because women have like degraded you or hurt you or betrayed you, that might be a therapist thing. Because you're processing. Coaching is all about, okay, what goal do you want? Let's talk through it. I am not going to talk about bipolar, narcissism, neurodivergent, and people often ask me that. You know, oh, I'm coming to you because my anxiety. Okay, I can listen, but you need somebody else for that. And that helps to keep me responsible for what I do, you know? So it's kind of looking out for like, what are your specific things, and go and look at credentials. Don't just look at her follower count. Does it, when you look at the website or when you talk to her on the phone, so where did you, you know, study this? How long have you been doing it? You have to ask. Because especially for coaches, it's not a regulated field, which means anybody could be like, I'm a coach. So there's pros and cons with that.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
I mean,
actually, you
I
have
100%
to really
agree.
take your time and go do your research.
But I like that it's goal oriented.
Yeah.
And then it's goal
what
driven. I like that. It reminds me of a life coach that I did. We did a show and we had a life coach and she said the same thing. Like, it's about your goal. I'm not your therapist. And I'm like, but I have problems. I want to tell you.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but do you hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to tell you both
I
things.
still want to tell you, but
Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to refer you out.
and it was literally like that. Like, no, I'm not a therapist. I'm here to get the goal. What's your goal in life? And
Right. Yeah.
It was different.
It's almost
That's
like you have
important.
to come to you prepared. Take different steps, even building up to a friendship coach in a way.
Yeah, and I feel very blessed in that, it was coaching, multiple times a week for 4 years. But, now that the brand has grown, we kind of put the coaching on pause because I wasn't able to maintain the appointments because I do a lot of flying for media. And now my main thing is speaking. So like a lot of sororities will have me come in and I do their keynote for their annual convention. Or like,
I like that.
I have, doctors have had me come in because, they have a female dominated staff and they're like, we have issues. So I go and I speak to them. So the brand's grown. And so I'm not able to do the one-on-one like I was before. But it's kind of the same things, like making sure you're searching for people who are equipped and knowledgeable. Their style meshes with yours. Is important. But yeah, you kind of need to have a sense of what you want. So when I was leading sessions, it was the first question I would ask. I would say, hey, I'm so glad you made time to chat. I'm excited to dig in with you. Before we jump in, I have a question for you. And that question is, we're together for 75 minutes today. By the time you're done, what do you want? I mean, that's what we're starting at.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are like, I just want to know whether to stay in this friendship or not. Or I just want to release this friendship without feeling bad about it.
Yeah.
And so that's my North Star. And I'm like, okay, got it. Because it keeps us focused. And then if you say something contradictory to that, I can say, okay, I hear you. Now, you did say earlier that you hate how you feel in this friendship about yourself and that you want to find a way to exit that. But now I hear you saying you feel bad for leaving, so maybe you'll stay so she doesn't get mad at you. It's not what you said before. Are we changing the goal? So it's nice sometimes to have somebody who's like, come on now.
Yeah.
This is what we said we wanted to do. We're going backwards. It just can be helpful.
Yeah.
that.
Can you talk about your book that is about to come out?
Yeah, so my book is titled Fighting for Our Friendships, and I'm just really excited about it because it's an attempt to explain the mechanics of women's friendship. There's so many, I'm sure you've seen it like on social and stuff, there's so many videos that are like 7 red flags for a friend, 2 signs that you should cut your friend off. Like there's so
Where are the green
there's
flags?
so much.
The green,
Exactly.
Green flags. I'm tired of
Like
seeing
good
red
things.
flags.
There's
Good
just so
things in
much.
friendship.
There's so many lists and articles like 8 signs she's a narcissist and there's just so much. And so we're like saving these videos and putting them together. And it's just like you have to commit to memory this long list of friendship violations and red flags. And I just don't think it's supposed to be that way. And so this is me sharing the research so you can see from an aerial view how women's friendships work. What are the things that bring us together and what are the things that tear us apart? If you can commit an understanding of the broader idea of like how this works, then you'll know what to do in the super specific situations. You know what I'm saying? If you learn how this whole thing works, then the next time she's not texting you back or she canceled plans or she said something judgy, you're not on TikTok looking up a video for this specific thing because you know from an aerial view what to do, So that's kind of the hope. I just think that women, myself included, we sometimes end friendships prematurely. And I think there are friendships we could have still had and it could have been strong, but we get caught up in the
midst of
all this stuff.
not communicating
Exactly
correctly.
that.
Are you excited for your book release?
I am. And everybody's been very supportive. I'll tell you this. I was actually kind of embarrassed when my agent put out the announcement for like the book deal and stuff. I was so excited and I pulled it up and I looked at it and it was like, TikTok's at the friendship expert, blah, blah, blah. And I was so upset. And I was like, I don't want you putting the TikTok thing. I'm not like a TikTok girl.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I have degrees in this.
I have more than just TikTok and social media.
I actually did the research.
I was so upset. And you know what? I have grown out of that because I was so like, I am not the TikTok girl. I'm like serious.
Yeah.
I thought, you know what? Social media has played such a role in and where I am right now. And I feel like these videos that go viral and stuff like that, I mean, I'm in the comments and I'm like, I'm like, I have charted like comments I get. I made graphs where I'm like, okay, 80% of people are saying that. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
But it's like, that has been my focus group. And I'm so grateful for women who show up, they comment, they ask questions, because it helped me keep my pulse on what's going on and what's top of mind. And so I've had to grow into like, you know what? Yeah, social media is a big part of my story. And I'm so glad women have trusted me, you know, on their friendship journey. And so I'm excited for the book because I feel like this is my way of saying, I've heard you, I'm putting things together, I'm looking into it for you.
Yeah.
And here's, you know, some insight for some of the struggles that you might have.
Yeah. Are you going to do a book tour?
We're talking through that now. Yeah, some of the bigger cities I'm thinking so far, Atlanta, New York, and LA so far. And we want to make it an experience. So normally on a book tour, you know, the person sits up there in front and they
got
read
the good blazer on.
I got a blazer,
You got
I
the
got a
good
suit.
sign ready. I was going to say, there's a sign next to you. You got the good pin. You got the good pin ready to sign the
you
book.
like read an excerpt from a chapter and people clap and they're like, you're brilliant. And you're like,
Agents in
yes,
the
thank
background.
you.
Yeah.
I know.
That's like normally how it goes. And like, that's cool, like for your ego. But I don't know. I just don't want this to be about me. Like I said, I don't share really about my life and my friends and my tips. So we want it to be an experience for the women who come, right? Like I want you to come, even if you were like, I can't stand Danielle, but I'm going to that event. Like I want it to be like that, right? And so we're considering doing, you know, a speed friending tour. So we would go, so we would go around and maybe I say a little something and we have a discussion, but then that's over. And now we line up the chairs and I have questions and we have a whistle and we've done it before and it was amazing. And like, you just like hop chair to chair and it's like,
that's
like
so
speed
cool.
dating but for friendship.
Yes. And we've done it before and like surveyed women afterwards, and 90 days after the event, 85% of women said they were still talking to women that they met 3 months ago. So we know it works. It takes out the awkward small talk. You're there for like 4 minutes. I gave you the question to discuss.
Yeah.
So it's really, really fun. And I think the book tour is going to be that.
I like that. I like that interactive idea behind it. I also do like, you know, you sitting there reading the
with the
signing the book. Here's a book for you.
Yeah.
Give this to your daughter. I still want you to do that too. I really like that part about it.
But I like the interactive.
I like the interactive. But like for me, just being honest, I would be scared of the interactiveness. I would come to watch you to
sign
and to
then
read
bounce.
It. Yeah, I would leave.
No, you wouldn't be allowed to leave.
I'd be like, lock the doors.
Cheyenne said no. I'm not kidding. Like I would go for you reading it, and then I would go to get my book signed. And for my
so maybe the second part would be optional.
Yeah,
like, this is what we're about to do.
I would
for
go
part
so
two.
I can hold the book in the middle of us and we can smile like that. I'm just being honest.
You don't want to watch me hop chair to chair?
No, and I don't want to necessarily.
I don't want to hop chair to chair.
I'm a little scared.
Yeah,
especially in LA. I don't want to hop chair to chair with some of you guys.
Yeah.
So. I'm going to see what blazer you pin on, and I want you to have a nice fancy pin when you sign my book.
Yeah, that's
and
funny.
then
I
asked my sister about the friends she met.
Question about the book. I saw you have the book, and there's going to be like a workbook component to it. Is that within the book, or is it like a...
So we're figuring out like what that resource will be. Okay. We did try to make the book so that like every book ends with questions.
Got it.
So that you don't just read and you're like, okay, that was good. Like it prompts you, you know, have you ever done this, or things like that. So we really encourage women to go through it together. Now you could read it alone, but there's something about reading it with a friend and being like, oh my God, this stirred up a lot of stuff.
Oh, I love that.
We need to then maybe do a Think Loud crew
read. Like we can have a
book club.
Yeah.
Read it together.
Would love to read it together. And
is there a friendship journal? Is that a thing?
I don't know if there's a friendship journal. What do you mean? Just like if you were to kind of like write through your thoughts, or friendship prompts in the journal?
Yeah, like if you did a friendship journal.
I don't know,
like
but maybe we should work on it.
You should definitely
like for merch.
I want merch.
No.
Like my friends are like I have
There's
distinct friends
journals.
that journal. Like they wake up and they journal in the morning and stuff. And I've never heard of one that is for friendships.
There's like
prayer
You can like pass your journal to your friend, and now I can kind of get a little insight on your thoughts.
Dating, but
Right,
I've never
but not
seen
in
it in
friendship.
friendship.
All right, make it happen.
Great.
Oh yeah, and I'm like
pressure.
let me text my
Make it happen, and in the dedication. Hello.
Thank you, Cheyenne, for the
Beautiful
See,
thought.
I'd be annoying. So I'd be like, hey, I think I want to be friends with you. Can you fill out these 18 forms?
Yeah.
This is the journal you can take home.
Yeah.
I'll be back on Thursday.
Yeah,
Here are
that's
my
funny.
answers too.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's funny.
That's
a great idea.
I'm really excited. I'm
cut down
even
the
more excited
chit-chat.
now to buy the book and to buy it
Yes.
from a friend and
Yeah.
be like, let's do this together.
Yeah, and it's not just like a marketing like buy a copy for you and your friend, but it's just like we do have questions in there. I think that it's helpful to do it with somebody you trust because the questions are, kind of deep, so you don't want to do it with somebody new and they're like, I don't know. It brings some stuff up, but every chapter is asking about like, have you ever been a mean girl? Have you been on the end of it? Have you ever used these tactics? What was your relationship with your mother? How do you think that? So there's a lot of questions along the way to facilitate conversation. So we are hoping that women say, okay, I need to go through this with somebody. I need to like talk it out. And you might uncover more things about your friends if you do that. So that's the goal, is for it to bring us closer through those discussions.
I like that.
I'm
We're
excited.
getting in depth with your friends,
Yeah.
going on that journey, reading a book.
Yeah.
I like that.
We're about to do a book club for Think Loud Crew, and that'll be our first book.
That would be
Yes.
amazing.
That would be the first
yeah.
step.
That'd be a really good book club.
Yeah.
So the way that we end our
that.
podcast every week is you can share advice about anything that under the sun, or you can tell us your WTF moment of the week. We'll go first. Someone over there will go first because I don't know.
All right.
mine. No? Anybody?
okay. Keep working on your friendships. I feel like that is real. For me, I've had my issues with my friendships, but I also have great friends who I love. And some of them are close and some of them are out of state and some of them are overseas. So it is a continual journey, but keep working on your friendships. And like you said, be open to making new friends. I know some of y'all know I made a mom friend over the summer, and we're still friends, and we're like uncovering different layers, and it's been nice, I think, to just get back out into the world of being open and wanting to make friends. So be open. That's my advice. Be open to making friends, even if you're like in a funk and you're like, I just have nothing to give. Sometimes you don't know what people will pour into you. You don't know what you'll receive from others. So just be open to receiving.
I feel like I've been quiet, but I've been like taking it all in, and my advice is communication. I feel like I am constantly in my own little world and I get stuck in it, and I don't invite anybody in my friendships or like just things that you were saying today. So my advice is to communicate what's in your head to your friends so they can understand what you're processing and what you're going through. I think that's so important. And for you to voice that today just had me like sit back for a moment, like, damn, like I really don't, when I'm in my head, I don't communicate to my friends or allow them to know if I'm hurt, if I felt some type of way or anything like that. I just sit with it. And I constantly just process it through my head like, damn, she hates me. Damn this. Damn, she said that. Damn, oh my God, I'm the worst friend ever. So to communicate what you're processing through your head.
That's good.
So thank you for that today.
Yeah, I love that.
I don't have advice. I have a WTF. I'm just being honest. I'm going to let you do the advice. I feel like your advice is about to be a great one. My WTF, I am potty training Ace right now. Ace, I have a 2-year-old son.
I love him.
I don't know. First off, I look at my son and I love him, right? I truly, truly love my child. But then I look at his father and I'm like, this is your fault. You were bad for 30 years of your life, okay? You were a little bad boy. And Ace is our karma. Ace walks in the room and he's like, I'm going to fuck everything up that I can find. I'm going to touch everything. I'm going to rub my baby dick on this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I swear he walks in with, like, a vengeance. Like, he's
plotting.
He's just plotting, okay? That's what I'm dealing with right now. And I look at Zach and I'm like, I was never bad. I was a really good girl, okay? This child that we have is your child. He's like the Tasmanian devil. Like, all right, so back to my WTF. Potty training Ace. I got him these little cute Ethica boxers, this big old tiger on the front.
I love it.
I presented them. I made them fun and shiny and all the things you're supposed to do that Google says you're supposed to do. Every 20 minutes, I'm putting him on the pot. I'm doing good. I leave. I text Zach. I'm like, how's it going? He's like, terrible. I'm like, what? Bro, I come home. The whole carpet is gone. Like, our whole entire living room carpet is gone. I'm like, where's the carpet, Zach? Well, Ace peed on the carpet, and then he took a shit, and there was a massacre. Bro.
Oh no.
Oh, no. And I look at Ace. I look at Ace. He's back in a diaper. He's chilling. He's got this iPad. And he's looking at me like, what you gonna say? I swear he's looking at me like, say something. I'm gonna pee on something else. That has been my life for the week. I started doing laundry yesterday. I'm disgusted.
Did you find the shitty underwear?
I found the shitty underwear.
Oh, no.
And then I found like 3 other pair, and I'm like, you didn't tell me he shit 3 times.
In his cute little
in the cute
tiger.
Epica boxers that I got, all of them are ruined.
I would have to throw it all away.
Oh, I did. I threw it all away.
Why were they in the dirty laundry?
Because I have a man. There's a man in my house that I'm married to that thought, these can be washed. That is what I am actively dealing with right now. Is potty training a boy is a whole another kind of beast. I potty trained Ryder in 2 days. She was perfect. Okay, perfect. I got her the Disney undies. I set her in the toilet in front of Moana. She got potty trained in 2 days.
Oh, wow.
She was perfect. I had a little. That's my angel. Ace is like, you want to see
Watch
what
this.
I can do with this baby penis, Mom?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like showing me, and then he does this new thing, and he sticks his butt. He goes, hit my tushy, hit my tushy.
No,
bro.
I don't like it.
I'm like, Ace.
I don't like it.
So that's my rant for the day. Potty training a boy is not for the weak.
I'm gonna say we've been through it.
Yes, we have been through
We've
it.
done it.
I feel like I got it easy because he was at preschool. So
Mine's not. Mine's at home
I know.
whipping it out. He literally whips
it doesn't get better
it
with
out.
boys. I feel like it scares me.
I'm like, put it
Put it away.
baby pinky toe away. I don't want to see it.
Baby pinky toe.
And
Oh my
Ace is
God.
like, Mom, look, I got a penis. I'm like, oh my God.
She's just
I'm sorry. Do you have kids?
I do. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. My 5-year-old's a boy.
Hey,
yeah.
so do I.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
I've got 5 and 2.
She said,
both
yep.
boys.
I'm like,
I get it.
okay, so you know.
Yeah, I do know. Potty training's really hard. Really hard.
It is hard.
Yes.
And then you go on TikTok and you see the moms
because
teaching their
quit.
newborns incontinence training, and it's
Oh
got
my
like
gosh.
the week-old baby in the sink pooping.
Have you guys seen the
interesting.
2-year-old
Yes.
genius? The boy, he's a boy. He's 2. He sits there and does like math problems all day. This is my last rant. This is the problem with social media. I watched
It
this
is the
little
problem with
2-year-old
social
boy
media.
do math problems, read a book, and I'm looking at Ace. And I'm just like kid, do math. I'm like, oh, we failed you. Like this
the problem with
2-year-old
social media.
is doing full on division, like full on multiplication,
normal, Shy.
reading, and I'm just looking at my son playing with his iPad, eating his McDonald's, and I'm like,
Sorry.
sorry, Ace, you're not a genius.
You didn't make it to Mensa. You're not a Mensa kid.
You're not a genius, son.
I want a Mensa kid.
All right.
You're
Those
doing
are
great.
my mom
You're
rants
doing
for the
great.
week.
You're doing great. I think for me, I don't have WTF moments. I guess I do every day. Having kids, you have those moments every day. I guess like to end with advice, I would give this advice. And it's around the word vulnerability, which people tend to like use a lot. And I just want to like clarify something on it. And that is the best way I've heard vulnerability defined is you're taking a risk of rejection. That's what it is. And I want to challenge every woman to think about what is something in your friendships right now you are not doing because you fear you would be rejected. And a lot of times we tend to picture a very timid woman who's scared of rejection. But there are some of us, especially in the Black community, that sometimes we go too hard on things and we do the, oh no, I'm cutting people off. Like if she does that, I'm cutting her off. If she does, that is a lack of vulnerability too. Because what you're saying is, I do not want to be hurt, so I'd rather leave before that happens to me, and I'm going to do it from a position of power because you're not going to play me. But really, you're scared that she's going to hurt you, and your way to respond is to be like, I'm done with this. Like it's a flex, but it's not. And so I just challenge, what is something you want to do in your friendships? Have a hard conversation, text, ask a girl you really like, hey, you're really cool. Would you want to, link sometime?
Yeah.
What's the thing you're not doing? Because you're scared you would be rejected. I challenge women to do that thing. And is there a chance that you are rejected? Yes. Is there also an equal chance that you would be accepted and it's the most amazing thing? Yes. So that would kind of be like my challenge for women who are listening this week, is to do that thing and to see like what happens on the other side.
It changes.
I'm really trying to think about what I'm about
Me
to do.
too, because I just like I can't say the words, but yeah, that
Resonated with
great.
you?
Thank you
This
for the
is-
I
words.
got you,
This has been
Shannon.
my-
I got you, my friend over there.
My brain is
not here.
our season of reclaiming certain things with our friendships and just rediscovering and just solidifying. Because, I mean, I love y'all. You're my sister, but like you guys
does
are my
that count?
friends too.
Oh.
Yeah,
No, because I feel like we have a sister relationship, but then there is things outside of our sisterhood, I feel, where I can come to you as a friend
and ask questions.
and ask you questions or ask for guidance or just be like, you know, it ain't 2 a.m. in the morning, but it might be 3:30. What's
You better
good?
call Shannon at 2 a.m. Let her live dating too. All right, guys. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Think Loud crew. You can find us on Instagram and on YouTube. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with a friend. Yes. And you can follow me at Shy Not Shy.
And you can
go you.
you can follow me at Hair by Shannon C.
And you can follow me at RKylin. And Danielle, where can the people find you?
So everything lives at betterfemalefriendships.com.
Oh, I like
Yes,
that.
I love that. When I
I
first
like
saw your
that.
bio, I was like,
just
yes, website.
I like that.
Thank you.
And we will keep you guys tuned when the book comes out,
Yes.
and we will figure out how we can start a book club.
Yeah, I think
let's do
that's
it.
awesome.
All right, guys. As always, have a beautiful week, and we will be back next week with an all-new episode.
And don't forget to tell your crew
About our crew.